Welcome, hockey fans across Canada, to Hockey Night in Canada and the Battle of Ontario. It hasn't been a playoff battle for 9 years, but it features two teams that made the playoffs last season and plan to be there again. These teams are getting better because their players are getting better, and this year the Battle of Ontario might be the best it's been in years, despite the fact that for the first time in 18 years, Alfie's not in it. Craig Anderson picked up right where he left off last season when he led the NHL in goals against average and save percentage. A 35 save shutout in Buffalo last night, so he's right back in tonight. James Reimer looks for his second win as well. Part of the reason he gets the home opener versus the Senators is an 8-1-1 record against Ottawa in his young career. Referees Chris Rooney and Tim Peel, Tony Saracolo and Brad Lazarowicz are the linesmen. Not often three players get a chance to play their first NHL game on the same night. And here in the home opener, Randy Carlyle has three young men who will play their first NHL game. Jamie Devan right there, just got a pat on the back. He's from Mississauga. Spencer Abbott gets his first NHL game, and so does Morgan Rielly, a 19-year-old, up against Paul McLean and the Ottawa Senators.
Jim, you think of all the injuries Ottawa had last year. Paul McLean had that very scenario happen with him.
Yeah.
All the new bodies. So two young teams looking to really get off to a great start. Toronto wins their first two on the road for the first time in franchise history, and Ottawa trying to go 2-0 to start their season on the road.
And they'll start their big line. The first line of Jason Spezza, Bobby Ryan, and Milan McCulloch still trying to get to know each other, with Erik Karlsson on the ice and his regular partner Mark Methot against Phil Kessel, Tyler Bozak, and James Van Riemsdyk. With Dion Phaneuf, who just went down in front of the net, and Carl Gunnarsson on the ice, likely to play all night against Jason Spezza. Van Riemsdyk with a rink-wide pass, stepping up is Mark Methot. And he gave the puck to Bobby Ryan, and the 26-year-old got it in deep. Phaneuf with Jason Spezza in pursuit. He stole the puck, just about gave it away. McCulloch keeps it in. There's a giveaway and an attempted pass, and the Leafs get to center. Phil Kessel has the first one this season. Shot wide, and then his backhander goes wide as well. And Van Riemsdyk tracks down the puck. Morgan Rielly, number 44, on the ice for the first time in the NHL. Paired up here with Cody Franzen. They just changed and came on the ice as the Leafs start a forward line change now. There's Erik Karlsson out to center. Kyle Turris, the second line center. There's former Leaf Clark MacArthur and Corey Conacher on this second line after the puck against Joffrey Lupul, Nazem Kadri, and Spencer Abbott in number 56 gets his first National Hockey League shift, the 25-year-old from Hamilton, Ontario. Turris plays the puck back. Patrick Wierkoch. Pass to Conacher, going the wrong way. Kadri takes over. Lupul gets the shot, and an easy save for Craig Anderson as he steers the puck to the corner. Abbott is a real speedster, and he's got some offensive touch, but he's back-checking right now as Conacher gets the puck deep. Jake Gardiner is back along with Paul Ranger, and he's spilled into the end boards. Ranger lost control of the puck out front. Quick shot. Great save by James Reimer. And a turnover and a shot by Zach Smith.
Smith coming right down the gut in the slot area. A little bit of miscommunication in the corner. Gardner trying to just block out for a split second. Conacher knocks him down. Ranger can't get control of the puck. The no-look pass, and just a great positional save by Reimer. Watch how quickly he comes out, challenges outside the blue, and not only makes the save, but no rebound at all for a great start.
Zach Smith will like that. First touch of the puck just off the bench. Would have liked to have had it go in, though. Dave Bolin out here with Troy Bodie trying to get in the forecheck, and Mason Raymond for the Maple Leafs from the blue line. Ranger had his stick disintegrate. Bodie with his shot, and a rebound off Anderson is gobbled up by Mason Raymond. He passed it to the point, but there was a change underway, and the puck comes to center. Morgan Rielly with a pass up the middle to Raymond, and Rielly goes on an offensive foray and didn't get the puck, and now he's racing to get back. Chris Neil, he's a veteran of the Battle of Ontario, dumps the puck in as his mates start to change.
You see early on here, Carlyle going with Franzen as a real calming influence for Rielly. And Gardner gets Ranger on his side.
There's Mason Raymond. Jay McClement breaks up the middle. Fourth line comes on for both teams here to get their first shift of the game. There's Colton Orr. Jamie Devan is wearing number 59. He's a 22-year-old from Mississauga. And he really bailed the Leafs out in the preseason when all their tough guys were hurt, and he had to take on all comers and rewarded for his dedication through the preseason with an NHL game here tonight.
Yeah, rewarded by the coach, and obviously got a lot of good points with teammates as well. Stood up for a lot of guys and had a real impact as a youngster.
There's an icing call against Toronto, so everybody's now been in the game, including a couple of shifts for Morgan Rielly. Heels.
Yes, and I saw it from ice level, and it's pretty good. You watch, this guy has the ability to skate himself out of trouble, the ability to close the gap. There's a good example of it there. Here's a good example of physical play against the Ottawa Senators. Best scorer last year in the regular season and postseason. Not bad. 2 shifts, looking pretty good already.
Ottawa able to change here on an icing call, and they get the Spezza line over the boards against the fourth line, including Jamie Devan. But the Leafs were able to get the puck down the ice, and they start the change as Devan is the only forechecker. Now Mark Methot. There's Bobby Ryan. He and McCulloch and Spezza haven't had a lot of time together. There's a rush for Erik Karlsson, who's in deep after the puck. Knocked Gunnarsson down, and Bobby Ryan gets a hold of it. He's checked by Tyler Bozak, but the Senators keep the puck in. McCulloch trying to poke the puck loose for Jason Spezza. Back to the blue line. Methot missed it, and the puck drifts all the way down the ice.
Tim, you mentioned Spezza coming over the boards there on that faceoff, and automatically Karlsson does as well.
3-on-2 up the middle. Bobby Ryan with a shot, and another one on the second chance and a rebound, and James Reimer makes both saves.
Glenn talked about the nice skating of Rielly. How about Karlsson? I mean, he's maybe even saying not quite back to his Norris Trophy form, the gruesome injury, but this is what you're going to see. Jumping up on the play, trying to create something, not afraid to get in on the forecheck to create some offense. He gets back to his position, then a little nifty give and go, and an off back foot shot by Ryan, and a good save by Reimer.
Ottawa won the faceoff. Here's Zach Smith on the ice again with Chris Neal and Colin Greening. Dave Bolin behind the net. There's another giveaway. Rangers had a tough start to the game, and now he's knocked down in front of the net. Now he goes after Chris Neal and gets a hit in. And Mason Raymond moves the puck out to center. Troy Bodie pulls away from Weir Kaj. Took a shot, but that was blocked by Jared Cowan. Good young defensive pair here, but they're in a little trouble. Bolin side of the net. Mason Raymond. Something Buffalo couldn't do all night last night. Get a goal on Craig Anderson. Mason Raymond makes it 1-0 Toronto.
Raymond's the recipient of a beautiful pass, but it's Bodie keeping this play alive. Stays in on the forecheck, turns the puck over, and with a heads-up play by Bolin, a no-look backhand pass. And credit Raymond, he just stayed in the tough areas, got into great position, and that's one way to beat Craig Anderson. No chance at all for Anderson to make that play.
What a week it has been for Bolin. You know, you look at the play of Kadri, hasn't been that good. Bolin gets moved up to the second line, shows spades against Philadelphia, and here tonight, what a pass.
Use him a lot as a checking center, but you forget that he's had great skill in his career. Played junior hockey in London, and he was a real offensive player. And I suppose when you're hanging around guys like Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane at practice every day, tend to be offensive. Here's Morgan Rielly now with a backhand shot that hit a skate. So Boland and Bodie assists on Raymond's second goal as a Maple Leaf at 4:21. And a stoppage in play here as the Leafs get a 1-0 lead on home ice.
It's been a great start for Mason Raymond. He's already got a goal to his credit. Great speed, probably the best signing in the offseason. But how does he get into it? That's the shift before his goal. He gets engaged physically. It's kind of a weird feeling in this building. Home openers, there's lots of pressure on the home team. It's an event. Well, right away, make this event a positive one. 2 guys they brought over this summer, and they deliver.
Bolin, Raymond, and Bodie has been a pretty good line. Haven't been together for all of these 3 games the team has played, but they're back together tonight.
And once again, Bodie getting something done with his speed. And he created that play in the neutral zone, beating his man Cowan wide and then jumping in on the loose puck.
Here's Jake Gardner putting mobile defense tonight for Toronto as Gardner jumps up. Devan went to the front of the net. Couldn't get a hold of the puck. Colton Orr barges in. And the puck comes loose to Eric Condra. Up the middle, though, there's Jay McClement. He was the safety valve, held the puck in for a moment. Matt Cassian out to center. He's with Jean-Gabriel Pajot. And Eric Condra on the fourth line as the teams play fourth line against fourth line and now make a change.
I think of Pajot, he's going to be a real important player for Paul McLean. They're beating out Zibanejad for that position. Had a great playoff, and they'll look for some real offense from him in the regular season.
Spezza turned the puck over at the blue line early on. Randy Carlyle with last change wants to go head-to-head. Bozak's line get up against Spezza's line. A lot of great talent on the ice, including the right wingers, both 26-year-olds. Phil Kessel, Bobby Ryan from the 2005 and 6 drafts. McCulloch with a shot that went over the head of James Reimer. Here's Carlson holding the puck in, and that was a gravity drop at the side of the net. Bozak, center in support, up the middle. Van Riemsdyk tips the puck out through center, and Carlson smoothly goes back after it. Asked about his star defenseman today, Paul McLean said, I think he's back to normal. He makes me glad, then he makes me mad, then he makes me glad, then he makes me mad.
That's the
I think
normal.
he's okay.
The give and take, isn't it?
There's Boland again, trying to get to the net in front. Spencer Abbott with a little tip there, and Craig Anderson had to make a good save. Out to center. Here's Kyle Turris, a centering pass and a good back check by Spencer Abbott. Might have prevented a goal. Back the other way, a 3-on-2 led by defenseman Cody Franson. He gets the puck deep. One thing Spencer Abbott showed in the preseason is he's got great wheels. They went down to play with the Marlies and was said to be the best player on the ice in 2 exhibition games, so we got to call it. Turris with a shot. That's blocked by Morgan Riley. Franson, his partner, back to try and take care of Turris. A centering pass. Clark MacArthur couldn't get a good shot away. Morgan Riley around on the boards, and the puck's held in by Wierkosh. To Jared Cowan, gets some open ice. Looking around, his pass out front. Turris scores! The defenseman, Jared Cowan, made it happen and made the pass. Kyle Turris finished it off, and it's a 1-1 tie.
Oh, did he ever? And Cowan, not known for his offensive prowess, he makes a heck of a play under some pressure. A quick pass from Wierkoch. Look at the protection of the puck. Keeps it to the outside and then just backhands it towards the net in a bunch of traffic. You could see Franson was there, but heads up Turris, gets inside position, gets the stick down. There's the protection of the puck on the blue line, and in the pile of blue sweaters, Turris ends up getting a hold of it.
It's like the Three Musketeers, too much stick checking there. You need to have somebody take the body, and you know, since Turris came over from the trade, fantastic goal scorer, 12 goals, that leads the team. 6 more in the playoffs, that led the team. One guy you got to take the body on because he's crafty and slick.
Cowan and Wierkoch get the assists on Kyle Turris, first of the season, that makes this game 1-1. A real festive atmosphere in the building before the opening face-off, but it does seem a little nervous in here now, doesn't it? Chris Neal trying to get out of his own zone. Colin Greeny. He'll dump the puck in. Ranger and Gardner back on the defense. And Paul Ranger safely moves the puck to center, only to have it shot right back in. And both teams are making changes. Van Riemsdyk. Here's Phil Kessel. Got around one man. He's stopped by Craig Anderson. And the one man he got around is Erik Karlsson. He was just breezed by. Here's Spezza back the other way. And as he stopped up, Bobby Ryan went offside. Phil Kessel with a little change of speed. He picked it up and beat Karlsson, but couldn't beat Anderson on Hockey Night in Canada on CBC. Thank you, Andy. 1-1 here as Mason Raymond and Kyle Turris have exchanged goals. There's a new captain of the Ottawa Senators, Jason Spezza.
Bobby Ryan's got to learn to play with him. The thing Spezza loves to do is when he comes across the blue line, he likes to step up and make a play. Bobby Ryan just a little bit too quick, goes offside. All the center icemen for Ottawa are right-handed shots. That is a rarity in the NHL. Bobby Ryan is a right-handed, right-side winger. Spezza loves to go to the other side more.
There's Jason Spezza. It gets a return off a blocked shot. And here's Tyler Bozak out to center to Phil Kessel. In on Karlsson again. Can he beat him again? Passed it back. It went off a stick. Gunnarsson holds the puck into Dion Phaneuf. Mark Methot in behind the net. Karlsson up the boards. A giveaway. Gunnarsson shot and a nice save by Craig Anderson in some traffic.
Boy, you like the matchup here. Both coaches going with not only their top lines, but the top defensive pairings against each other. So you see some good plays offensively, you see some turnovers, and Anderson had seen enough there. Fights through the traffic. Gunnarsson tries to go top corner through a crowd.
A little bit of a departure from Randy Carlyle's normal style, isn't it, to play head-to-head? He usually wants a checking line against the top line of the opponent.
You think that left wing for Van Riemsdyk, you have to be really aware in your own zone of that right defense Carlson jumping down.
Here comes Bodie, Boland, and Mason Raymond again. Out against Zach Smith's line with Colin Greening and Chris Neal. And Jake Gardiner held the puck in. Chris Phillips paired with veteran Joe Corvo. Rangers swept the puck away from Chris Neal, and now he tried to pop back at him and let Jake Gardiner get a hold of the puck. His pass up the middle will go the distance, and this will be an icing call against Toronto. We'd like to invite you to be part of our broadcast with Second Screen. Take your game to the next level with Hockey Night's Second Screen. Interact and compete for cash prizes and be a part of the broadcast at cbcsports.ca/second screen. Toronto can't change. Kyle Turris line comes on. Boland beat him on the draw. First two games, one area of concern for Toronto, if you can have a concern after two games, have been defensive zone faceoffs. Tyler Bozak's, but he only got winning in. But Boland won that one.
Well, as good as Boland is as that checking line center and plays a good role defensively, can kill penalties, faceoffs have not been one of his strengths. And you mentioned Randy likes to have that trust, doesn't he, in his center iceman?
So Tyler Bozak's had to take an awful lot of faceoffs in the first two games in his own zone. Cody Franson in front of his own net. That went off the post. Now it's in the net. First one went off the post, and James Reimer couldn't find it, and the Ottawa Senators have gone ahead 2-1 as Cody Franson lost the handle on the puck in front of his own net.
One of the things in the slot area as an offensive-minded player, you're hunting the puck. And you get a good example of it here. Conacher does a great job of just finding that loose puck, buying time, the right-handed centerman, as Glenn was talking about. Franson gets bumped by Conacher, and he makes that play. Riley's too late getting back. Lupul's fighting MacArthur in front. I'm not sure MacArthur even got a piece of it. That was off the post and then off of Reimer, and that shot to me came off of Conacher. Should be his goal.
I know MacArthur wanted it badly. As we look at our Hockey Night in Canada net cam presented by LASIK MD, and Reimer just couldn't find it. Should be Corey Conacher's goal.
Glenn, as a goalie, you know it's back there somewhere. You just try not to knock it in, try to corral it between your legs.
You're almost afraid to move, and in some ways what you do as a goalie is you look for the player's eyes to see where he's looking for the puck. You get a pretty good indication of where it is. But that's just good hard work there. This is a strange night for the Ottawa Senators. Last year they were the worst team in the league in percentage for scoring, 7%. A lot of shots, not enough goals.
They had a lot of guys missing from the lineup.
Absolutely. Tonight, about 40%. Pretty good shooting percentage.
And a puck is up and out of play. Corey Conacher gets the goal. Turris and Weirkosh get assists. Ottawa's ahead on Hockey Night in Canada on CBC.
Welcome back. Our Hockey Night buyout presented by Subway, and of course Morgan Riley making his NHL debut, the former first-round pick, 19, from Vancouver. His mother Shirley flew in, as well as his father Andy from Vancouver, and he said his locker stall was right next door. And there you see his father up there, Andy. That was his first time on the ice. Morgan Riley is a young guy. He said Dion Phaneuf's been a great calming influence on him, has kept his confidence up. I spoke to his dad Andy last night, and he told me he was more nervous than Morgan. He didn't care about the flight. He wasn't going to miss this for the world. Guys?
Dad coached him a lot at the Hollyburn Country Club in West Vancouver. Then he went off to Notre Dame, played with the Hounds, and then to Moose Jaw. 3 years with the Warriors.
He's going to need a calming influence now.
Yeah.
3 minutes into his career at this point, he's -2.
The hand pass stops the play here. Yeah, there's been some opening night jitters on the Leaf defense, haven't there?
Yeah, and you know, Cody Franson has been such a settling figure in the first 2 games. And right now, this has been a tough start for this pairing. He gets back out there again. So Randy Carlyle realizing he's got some youth in there. You got to get them back into this game and some confidence.
Randy was saying, I don't know, it was very prophetic, but it seems so now at practice yesterday, that Cody Franson only had a week of training camp, and eventually maybe the rust is going to start to show.
I thought he was sharp in games 1 and 2. But so far, a tough start here.
He and Riley out there again. Morgan Riley's 19 years old. We mentioned earlier there are 21 teenagers in the NHL right now. There's also 5 defensemen who are actually younger than Morgan Riley playing right now. Now, whether they stay or not, they're all getting a pretty good look, but there's great young defensemen around the league. Kadri won the draw. Riley moves in with the puck. Taken away by Patrick Bierkopf. There's Franson with a shot. And that was blocked by Clark MacArthur. The line of Turris, MacArthur, and Conacher that scored is trying to get out and can't. Joffrey Lupul to the front of the net, and a good stick by Jared Cowan. Here's Kadri's centering pass. That was blocked and didn't get to Joffrey Lupul. And here's Turris leading a 3-on-2 into the middle of the ice. Conacher couldn't get a handle on it. A good back check by Nazem Kadri to get the puck out to center. Spencer Abbott dumped the puck in. Jared Cowan sends it right back out. Turris with the shoot-in turns to the bench on a change. Jake Gardiner, first man back. Gets a little help from Troy Bodie. He gets a hit from Chris Neal. And after the puck is Erik Karlsson. Mason Raymond right on him. He's one of the guys in this game who can stay right with Karlsson with his speed. Dave Bolland trying to hold the puck in and does. Mason Raymond to the net. Just wanted to try and bank one in, maybe catch Anderson by surprise. Here's a turnover. Bolland, what a save by Anderson on Dave Bolland with his right leg. So the Turris line and the Bolland line have been the best ones in the game so far. There's some forechecking from Zach Smith, Chris Neal, and Colin Greening of the Senators. Bolland back in support of Gardiner. Ranger can't find the puck. Now he's got it. Mason Raymond couldn't get a hold of it. There's the shot from Corvo just wide. Phillips from the other side. That was blocked. Greening got the puck away from Ranger. The centering pass. Ranger knocked it away from Neal. Greening won't let the Leafs out. Bodie doesn't have a stick, and so he can't get to the puck, and it's kept in by Greening, who now needs to change. Jake Gardiner watched by Pajot. Hard pass off the boards to center, picked up by Jamie Devan. He moves in and shoots, and Craig Anderson stopped Jamie Devan and holds on.
Well, that last great chance by Bolland came off of a hybrid icing that the linesman decided that he didn't think it was going to get there, and he waves it off. You could see that the defender, Karlsson, was there first. I don't think he believed that the puck was going to get over the line, so that creates an offensive chance here. A turnover down low, Bolland with a quick shot, and a great save by Anderson. How many times are we going to see that, guys? Tough calls on those icings.
This has been a buffet of turnovers, though. Both teams guilty of it. You can understand Ottawa. They played last night. Tough game against Buffalo, but Toronto is rested.
Leafs won the draw. Riley to Franson. There's a tip from the slot by Jay McClement. And another save by Anderson. Shot with 10-5 Toronto. There's another turnover by Ottawa at the blue line. McClement to Colton Orr. Cowan is back. Cut off by Jamie Devan, who held the puck in. Here comes Cody Franson. He hit Jay McClement with the puck, and he had it caught up in his paraphernalia. Little shoot in by Pajot. Franson and Riley back for the puck. And Morgan Riley to the blue line, not out. Leaning into it was Erik Karlsson. The puck rattles around in front of the net. Condra can't get a hold of it. And in the middle of that pileup, there's going to be a penalty, and it'll be a hook.
I think it's going to be Cody Franson.
It is indeed. Franson to the penalty box. Ottawa to the power play on Hockey Night in Canada. Who will stay and who will go? Find out on the first elimination episode of Battle of the Blades. That's tomorrow at 8 on CBC TV. Back
Randy,
inside the Air Canada Centre, a forgettable first period for Cody Franson.
well, Randy Carlo's going to dislike 4 things about this shift. It's a 4th line shift. It's a turnover by Toronto. Leads to a scoring chance. It leads to a penalty. And now the Leafs have to kill that penalty. Down 2-1 with 5:52 left to go in the first.
Ottawa's power play 0 for 3 last night. 20th last year, but they didn't have a lot of players. for a lot of the season. There's a chance for Spezza, and he's stopped by Reimer. A face-off win resulted in a couple of chances, and Reimer had to make a nice save on Spezza.
Glenn talked about all the right-handed face-offs, and as a right-hander on that left side, it's tough to win it back. But watch how Spezza gets down on one knee, gets underneath the Bozak, and gets a second chance at it. He's got his hand down low, gets right there. You can see Bozak missed it, and he's down with one eye on that puck and able to keep it alive. He does it again and wins the draw a second time.
Carlson and Weirkosh are the point men. Carlson, here's Weirkosh with a shot that went off a leg and wide. Ryan, Spezza, and McCulloch set line up front of the first power play unit. And there's a steal by Tyler Bozak as he gets out to center. He and Jay McClement killing the penalty together, and the Leafs don't have Nikolai Kulemin to kill penalties for a couple of weeks. McCulloch stole the puck and centered it, but the Leafs collapsed to the net and they were able to clear it away.
One of the mainstays has been McClement, though. 14:03 of shorthanded time in the first two games of this season.
Here's Ryan in quickly on the wing. He left the puck at the blue line, just onside for Carlson. Milan McCulloch to Bobby Ryan. Couldn't get the handle on it. Spezza feeds the puck back, and Milan McCulloch to Ryan, and around the outside go the Senators. Now the pass comes back to Weirkosh. Spezza. In comes Carlson. The backdoor play, but the puck didn't get there. And the Leafs are able to clear it and make another penalty killing change. And back on will come Jay McClement. 9 minutes and 2 seconds in Philadelphia. Shorthanded ice time. McClement to the front of the net to Mason Raymond, and that was broken up. Now Carlson's going to get a penalty for tripping Mason Raymond. And the Ottawa power play comes to an end with 36 seconds left in the penalty differential.
On a power play, they never really got in sync. And what happens at the end of a power play, a little bit tired, couple of turnovers in the neutral zone, sloppy play here. A bad pass starts this off. Good recovery by Carlson. Comes back and makes the nice play, but then in the corner gets the stick down, and there's the penalty.
Turnovers, that's been the story of the first period. And it's not just the players that are turning the puck over, it's the goaltenders as well. And here Reimer, that's a costly one. The one thing the Ottawa Senators can do, they're young, they can skate, they're fast. It's the first time since February 28, 1994, Alfredsson has not been in the lineup for the Battle of Ontario. That may be a good thing, guys, because it gives other players the opportunity to play. You know, you'd be forced almost in some ways to have Alfredsson on that first power play unit.
Don't you think last year, though, guys showed this organization they got a lot of players who can come in and play?
And Bobby Ryan's a nice ad, too.
Yeah.
4-on-4 right now. Joe Corbo to the net, kicked away by Paul Ranger. I still think we should all boo and cheer simultaneously at the 11-minute mark of each period, just in honor of Alfie.
Just in honor of him? I think somebody...
80 games in the Battle of Ontario. Jake Gardner. Leafs are on a power play now. Dion Phaneuf. Here's Phil Kessel. Takes the shot. Good hard one, but up high and missed. And Phaneuf couldn't handle the puck at the blue line. He and Jake Gardner out here on the points. Kessel on his own. His line mates are changing. He's waiting for some help. To Jake Gardner. Phaneuf on the other side. One-timer stopped by Anderson, but a little slow coming. So Anderson was over in a hurry and set.
Well, one thing about Anderson, if he can see the puck, he's going to make a save. He's shown that last year with a spectacular year before his injury. And look at, there's just no bodies in front. Phillips gets a nice positional play on Van Riemsdyk, and he goes away from where the shooting lane is. For a goaltender like Anderson, can see the puck, no traffic in front, easy save.
Toronto 2 for 9 to start the season on the power play. Now they have their #1 unit out there. Tyler Bozak, James Van Riemsdyk, and Kessel. Cody Franson back in the right point with Phaneuf on the left point. And Dion Phaneuf has to go back after the puck. Reimer threw a little block for him on Eric Condra. Kessel with speed in on Jared Cowan. Back to Phaneuf. Franson on the other side. Kessel. Franson shoots. Stopped by Anderson, and it deflected into the corner. Now with the puck, Franson again. A slap pass, and he fanned on it off the heel of his stick. And the Senators get out 2-on-2. Zach Smith with Eric Condra. Condra trying to get the puck to Smith. Now they'll just try and keep it in. Here's Condra with a shot. And that stopped, and there's a slash on the play, and it'll be an Ottawa penalty here with still 10 seconds left in the penalty to Eric Carlson.
That was a delayed reaction, and then you could see Bozak. He can't believe he went to go make a play, and you wonder why there was a turnover. Well, the slash on the stick, Bozak protects the puck, goes to make a play with it, and that slash just breaks it in half. Condra in all alone, and a little bit of a delayed reaction before the arm went out.
They got 10 seconds, a little bit of 5-on-3 here, but watch JVR in front of the net. You got to take away the goaltender's eyes. He does that there. Anderson doesn't get a good peek at it. Simmer, you said it best. But Anderson can see it and makes it look easy.
Defenseman came in and helped win the draw here, so the Leafs got possession. Here's Lupul with his shot, stopped by Anderson. Mason Raymond turns again, score! Nazem Kadri. Very similar to the goal Mason Raymond scored, and it was Raymond who made the pass to Kadri, and it's a 2-2 game.
So if you don't have traffic in front, you've got to move the puck laterally quickly. Well, watch the difference here. Lupul kicks out, no traffic. Anderson able to make the save, gets on the rebound, but watch the quick pass through sticks. Two defensemen there, Greening the forward coming back, and Anderson thought that his D-man might get it. Instead, a quick response from Kadri. Pass through the seam, goal under the arm.
First for Nazem Kadri at 17:33, a second point of the night for Mason Raymond. It's a 5-on-4 goal.
By
Ottawa,
1 second.
Yeah, so Ottawa's back at full strength.
Glenn, as a goalie, do you think that your D are going to be able to get a piece of that and really focus on the chance of the shot?
I typically hedge it where I think the team's going to try to score the most difficult goal. So it won't be a shot from the point, it won't be a shot from the wall. It's going to be that backdoor play. And so I always cheat the backdoor play. Anderson did too, he just wasn't square.
Didn't quite get there in time. Here's Ryan with his shot. And Ryan's stick broke in half, so he couldn't go after the puck. McCulloch shielding the puck from Tyler Bozak. In stepped Morgan Rielly, and he made a play along the boards to Phil Kessel. Out at center, he's got Kadri coming to join him. Kessel's pass into the middle of the ice. It's intercepted. A good quick play by Kyle Turris. He's 1-on-3 here, waiting for his line mates to show up, and taken out by Dion Phaneuf. And James Reimer hangs on.
That's one way to slow down Turris. Turris got a lot of confidence right now. This is a big year for him, playing underneath Spezza as the #1. He's got an opportunity for a great offensive year, and you can see a nifty move to the inside, but Phaneuf took the body and ended the play.
Benched against Philadelphia, that is relief for Kadri, who scores a big goal. Simmer, you can look at your team and see we're 2-0, that's great, but goal scorers and goaltenders, they always judge their play based on, hey, do I have wins or do I have goals? That's a big goal for Kadri.
Yeah, you want to eliminate those zeros across the board as quickly as you can. As much you're right, it is all about team. The individuals have to be off to good confidence starts to make the team successful.
This is a part of his game that really has to improve. He's got to start winning some of those faceoffs in his own zone. 1 for 6 in the first 2 games of the season. Branson, little tip through. Nazem Kadri with Spencer Abbott, and Joffrey Lupul in after the puck. Jared Cowan is back. Kadri tried to throw a hit at Cowan and bounced off, and Kyle Turris has the puck. There's a 2-on-1. Got Clark MacArthur with it. Turris shoots, that's off the post and out of play. And a hard shot by Kyle Turris, who just about has his second of the night.
You see the D change. The change was made in the defensive zone. Ranger coming up on the play, and he gets caught here trying to keep this play alive. Doesn't get it through, gets it blocked by Turris. But Gardner does a nice job of just staying in the middle, taking away the passing lane, and leaving the shooter to his goaltender. Turris was close, but as you could see, just a bit of the glove by Reimer helped it hit the post.
Just enough of the glove. Or it wouldn't have hit the post and gone out in all likelihood. Jamie Clement, forward checking, checked by Chris Phillips. Pajot. The centerman back with Condra here, trying to move the puck out, and Matt Cassian on this line. Dave Bolin trying to hold it in. Carl Gunnarsson. In the last 30 seconds of the first period, few mistakes and turnovers, but pretty entertaining. In 4 goals. Here's Cassian to the front of the net. Pajot's backhander. He got in too deep to put the puck in with his forehander. Now kept it again. Joe Corvo with a shot. Reimer with the save. McClement goes after the puck and he bounces it off the boards to center. And I think for both of these coaches, the first period can't end fast enough. Little regroup time here and start over at 2-2.
That was a tough play for Dave Bolland, who was standing in front of Reimer. Watch, the puck's going to try to get bounced in off of him. Bolland's just at the bottom of your screen there. He just lifted his stick and his leg and made sure that Pajot couldn't knock it off him and in the back of the net.
Coming up on Hockey Night in Canada, Don Cherry, Ron MacLean, Coach's Corner. Raymond, Turris, Conacher, and Kadri have scored in a 2-2 game.
Welcome back to the Air Canada Centre. You're watching Molson Canadian NHL Face-Off here, Hockey Night in Canada. Nazem Kadri tying this game at 2-2 after 20 minutes. Kadri played just 11 minutes Wednesday against the Flyers. That's the fewest minutes he's played in the last 40 games. I asked him, are you in Randy Carlyle's doghouse? He said, not at all. When I make mistakes, there's accountability. I understand that. That's part of the process of being a 22-year-old in this league. But he always gives me an opportunity to redeem myself. He did redeem himself in that first period. Jim, Craig, they've got the call. Second period, along with Glenn Healy. Guys?
Nazem Kadri right back on the second line with Joffrey Lupul tonight, and he has his first goal. So we start over again. We started the second period 2-2. Ottawa and Toronto. Carl Gunnarsson. Round on the boards. Here's Erik Karlsson with his shot. Big rebound. Bobby Ryan's backhander stopped by James Reimer. Dion Phaneuf got a stick in the face, and Jason Spezza is going to get a penalty. Here's James Van Riemsdyk around Karlsson, stopped by Craig Anderson. And finally the whistle goes, and it was just about a goal that the whistle went on. But the penalty will be called. Jason Spezza will go off, and Toronto will get an early second period power play.
And another strange start, just about a goal at this end with a turnover and an opportunity for a loose puck. And Spezza goes after the puck and he hits the face of Dion Phaneuf, and then at the other end just great speed. You could see the puck right by the shoulder of Phaneuf, and Spezza misses it. At the other end, good speed on the outside by Van Riemsdyk. Surprises Karlsson with his speed and almost gets it to the outside.
So the Leafs on their third power play there, 1 for 2 so far. To the net, the attempt by Bozak went wide of the net. Kessel threw the puck at the net. Here's Van Riemsdyk. He's got Bozak in front. Coming after him, Chris Phillips. Dion Phaneuf gets the puck. On the other side to Cody Franson, and back again. Kessel with Bozak in the slot. Big screen. There's the tip from the slot by Bozak, and it was tipped wide of the net. Kessel, Phaneuf loads up and shoots a couple of tips and wide of the net. Franson pinches down, ran into Pajot, and the puck came loose and was cleared by Jared Cowan.
Pajot really getting a chance to kill penalties here for Paul McLean. Amazingly, last year with all the changes that the Senators had, they were the best penalty killing team in the league. And you have to think goaltending has a bit to do with that, doesn't it?
Quite a bit to do with that.
It's unusual to see Karlsson kill penalties. All the penalties last night in Buffalo, he killed 22 seconds worth. That's it. But in an effort to get him more ice, he's out here now.
Don't see him get blown by, as he has been a couple of times tonight very often. Morgan Rielly out on the power play. Bouncing puck side of the net. He just about had his first point. Rielly at the right point from Ranger. Takes a shot. Anderson the save. Rebound is loose. And Mark Methot put it up the boards. Morgan Rielly again. Into Nazem Kadri. Lupul to the front of the net. Hit the side of the goal. And Anderson squeezes the puck with 32 seconds left in the penalty to Spezza.
Well, a couple chances for Rielly to try to get a shot through. He's a left-hander on the right side there. Maybe a one-timer, but both times he's able to just get a quick wrister through as he's backing up. Sees traffic in front. Good timing play there. And an opportunity with a rebound that wasn't able to capitalize, but a good shot.
Played over 5 minutes in the first period. Unfortunately, a -2. And the first unit power play is back here, and Tyler Bozak is waved out, so Kessel has to come in against Turris. Does a pretty good job of scrambling, and the Leafs get the puck back, but it's passed outside the line by Phaneuf. Cody Franson has to back up. Bill Kessel missed that puck, missed the net 3 times in the first period too. Chris Phillips back in his own zone. relayed the puck to Zach Smith and down the ice, and that'll just about do it in the penalty to Jason Spezza. Oops, Franson left the puck for Kessel and he had to go back and get it. Stopped by Bobby Ryan and Jared Cowan. Penalties over. Ottawa's back to 5-on-5 with Toronto in a 2-2 tie. Here comes James Van Riemsdyk. Takes a shot. Cowan blocked a loose puck. Kessel stopped by Anderson and the loose puck at the side of the net. Van Riemsdyk couldn't get it. Cowan up the boards to Bobby Ryan. All he can do is get the puck to center. Carl Gunnarsson. Kessel off the boards. He couldn't take the pass, and now both teams will start changes here. There's an intercepted pass. Mason Raymond's having a great night. Made a great move. Now he hangs on and goes wide on Phillips. Passes the puck off. Bowl into the blue line. Carl Gunnarsson, other side. Rangers shoots just wide of the net. Bouncing puck, and Bolin can't come up with it. Mason Raymond with a goal and an assist and drew a penalty in the first period, and he's flying tonight. The injury to Alex Burrows. The Canucks could use him right now. Here's Raymond again to some open ice. Bolin. Erik Karlsson came at him. Raymond just about got another chance there. Here comes Zach Smith. Chris Neal drives the center lane straight to the net. Here's Greening with a shot. Puck inadvertently deflected right to him, and he just tried to chip it in by goaltender James Reimer. Couldn't do it. Troy Bodie pinching Mark Methot. Stopped him. Morgan Riley up the boards. Mason Raymond played the puck back. Riley takes it. Takes his time. Makes a nice pass. Out to center comes Bodie. Gets to center and dumps the puck in. Jay McClement after Zach Smith got there first. Here's Greening to Turris. Trying to catch the Leafs on a change. Turris up against Jake Gardner. Deals the puck back into the corner. Corey Conacher's after Paul Ranger. And Conacher lost his stick. Did Ranger knock that out of his hands?
He did. Didn't get the call.
And Conacher's having a few words for the referee, and there's an icing call against Toronto. They won't be able to change.
One thing we've had a lot of in this game to this point is chances. Glenn talked about turnovers and opportunities. Here's another one. A rebound that was sitting for Phil Kessel. He gets one whack at it, another, and then Van Riemsdyk can't get it at the other side. A seemingly errant pass that goes off the stick of Franson and right to the front of the net, and Greening not able to get the shot that he wanted on Reimer.
He was rolling on it. Jay McClement won the draw against Kyle Turris. Puck gets outside the line, but right back in again. Park MacArthur. Rory Conacher. MacArthur with a centering pass taken away by Jamie Devan. And he goes off the glass, and that was this fourth line would like to get a change in here after the icing call. One of them gets off as MacArthur does a spinorama on the boards and deals to Jared Cowan to the front of the net. Reimer aggressively poked that away. And out to center comes Spencer Abbott. He can fly 2-on-2. He's got Kadri with him. Abbott to the net. Stopped by Anderson. And there's been a few defensemen on both of these teams that have had a little trouble dealing with their assignments tonight.
This is a nice little stutter step. Watch the change of speed by Abbott. He looks like he's going to stop up for a split second. Instead, two quick strides, and that opens up a lane. But nice job of Weirkoch taking away the front of the net and allowing Anderson to get a hold of that.
Former Hamilton Red Wing Spencer Abbott in his NHL debut tonight.
I like the fact he was the best player in the Marlies, so they called him up. And that sends a message to every player in the Marlies. If you play well, you get that first chance. I've been in that situation before. Players get called up based on their draft position, based on their contract. Isn't it great to see a player get picked up, brought up based on his play?
And he's an offensive player, and you play him on an offensive situation instead of just parking him on the fourth line for the night, as is often the case.
And wouldn't you say there's been a good relationship with Ottawa and Binghamton in that regard, too? There's been an awful lot of that.
Spence's hard pass. McCulloch dumps the puck in for Ottawa. Jason Spezza trying to shield it from Phil Kessel as the top lines continue to go head-to-head in this game. In comes Mark Methot. Round on the boards, a hard centering pass. McCulloch, backhander just wide of the net. Bobby Ryan was knocked down as he tried to get to the front of the goal. McCulloch. Spezza got away from Phaneuf. Centering McCulloch's shot that went off a couple of sticks and into the corner. Now Carl Gunnarsson. Off the boards, and Van Riemsdyk gets out to center. Skipper to Kessel, moved the puck ahead. Bozak in front. Kessel and Van Riemsdyk both missed it. And back the other way comes Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Got McCulloch with it. Carlson jumps up, can't handle the puck. It jumped off his stick. And back the other way comes Morgan Rielly. Got his head up. Here's Kessel with Lupul. He shoots wide of the net. Lively boards, and back the other way come the Ottawa Senators. Big Matt Kassian lumbers in and puts the puck wide of the net. Morgan Rielly gets his head up again, up the boards. Joffrey Lupul. The pace of this game really picks up. Here comes Chris Phillips with a shot, and Reimer makes a save. Pageau to Joe Corvo. His shot blocked by goaltender Reimer, and he pops the puck up into his glove. Good pace in the second period and a 2-2 tie on Hockey Night in Canada. Kyle Turris still just 24 years old, but Glenn almost 250 NHL games and coming into his own.
Pace is picking up. A lot of changes on the fly. There's Ottawa making their change. And Turris is spatially aware. As he comes up the ice, watch him look. There, he's looking at the change at the bench. Looks again. Who do I have coming off the bench for support? What a night he's having.
Second center, and perfect for that slot. And a pretty good-looking line with Clark MacArthur and Corey Conacher. Ottawa wins the draw. Corvo took a shot. Troy Bodie went down and blocked it. And that allows Toronto to get the puck back. Bolin relayed by Paul Ranger to Mason Raymond. Bodie heads for the front of the net. Raymond puts on the brakes to lose Zach Smith to Jake Gardiner. His shot was blocked by Colin Greening. And Gardiner came over and got the puck and now retreats while his teammates get on side. Bodie got away from Corvo. Drives wide. He's got Raymond back on the inboards and is trying to cycle it to him, but the puck hit the referee. A giveaway, and Bodie holds the puck in. Corvo again. Off the board, saw a hit coming. Bodie took the puck away from him. Jake Gardiner on the other side. Here's Ranger. Throws the puck in. Mason Raymond into the middle. Bolin shot. What a save by Anderson and a one-timer by Bolin. Boy, this line's red hot tonight. Joe Corvo dumps the puck in. Rangers back, takes Greening out hard. Jake Gardiner got the puck up the middle. The pass skipped and got by Joffrey Lupul. Weirkosh is back. He throws the puck around to Corey Conacher. Here comes the other hot line tonight. Kyle Turris is straight up the middle. MacArthur falls in behind. Turris looking around again to the front of the net. A ricochet in behind. Conacher on the boards. Taken away. He'll get a free chance in front, and he missed the net as the puck bounced off Nazem Kadri, and Conacher found himself alone in front of the net with the puck.
A blind no-look pass by Kadri off the skates and almost a disaster.
And a battle in behind the net. Turris has the puck again. MacArthur trying to find some space out front. The puck's poked away from him. This time Kadri makes a play to Lupul. He slows up at center ice. Now dumps the puck in, and Patrick Weirkosh is the first man back as Toronto changes on the fly. And the Senators start to do the same thing. MacArthur flips the puck in, knocked out of the air by Dion Phaneuf. Trying to pounce on it here is Bozak. Phil Kessel turns and finds James Van Riemsdyk. Went wide on Phillips, who's trying to stay with him. Now to Kessel. Bozak's in front. The centering pass gobbled up by Phillips. And he moves the puck ahead. Here comes Bobby Ryan to McCulloch up the middle. Pushed to the ice by Dion Phaneuf. Bozak along the boards battling with Phillips. Ryan from the blue line filling in for Phillips, and he held the puck in, but it bounced to the other side. Methot keeps it in.
Interesting, Methot with Phillips on that shift, not Carlson.
I don't think Carlson could get the change or Phillips could get off the ice. Corvo is back. Under pressure from Jamie Devan. Fourth line shift here as Ranger shoots just wide of the net. Gardiner on the other side. Ranger held the puck in. Pageau bounces it out to center. Paul Ranger again. His pass hit one of his own men, and Gardiner takes over. And all they can do is get the puck deep. Halfway through the second period in a 2-2 tie. It's been this way since the end of the first. Rangers back. Had the puck taken away from him. Centering pass. Pageau can't beat Reimer. Conrad stole the puck from Ranger. And Pageau just couldn't get the puck by James Reimer to break this 2-2 tie. And another turnover behind the net. James Reimer with a big save on Hockey Night in Canada on CBC. Some chances at both ends for Paul McLean and Randy Carlyle, but they may not like why the chances are happening.
No, and if they were still playing together like they were in Winnipeg, they would say, enough of this, clean it up. But there's been some great chemistry between Mason Raymond and Bolin. Bolin banging his stick, wants the puck. Raymond gives it to him. Raymond's got legs tonight. Huey, you said it best. And then here, blind, no-look pass leads to an incredible chance.
And another chance at a scramble off the draw. There have been a few scrambles tonight, but the Leafs get a hold of the puck and get it out. Spencer Abbott trying to get into the forecheck. Cowan and Weirkosh are back. From the blue line, Franson's shot. Ian Riley have settled in here in the second period. Conacher, Clark MacArthur knocks the puck out of the air, takes a shot off, speed, loose puck. Turris tracks it down, out front, Cowan shoots, scores! Jared Cowan has been on the ice for every goal scored in this game, and he got that one from Kyle Turris, 3-2 Ottawa.
And once again, it's Franson and Riley who are on the ice for the goal against. And this one's just a simple play that's a 3-on-3 at the line, but the rebound is there, and then a little collision between Riley and Reimer. Look at Reimer turn the wrong way, can't get himself back up, and all the Leafs players collapse back towards the puck. Look at all the blue sweaters down low, puck watching, but nobody in a position to get the slot, and that ends up in the back of the net.
How about the pass by Turris? Everybody thinks this play here should go to maybe the front of the net, maybe a back door, and it's Cowan.
And an excellent read by Jared Cowan to see what was going on there and step right into the slot.
The great save by Reimer in the shift before. Cowan was sniffing on that one too. He could have had one there.
They expect big things from this pair of Cowan and Weirkosh. Probably more offense from Weirkosh, but Cowan gets his first there. Weirkosh has a couple of assists. Here's Mark Methot with their big rebound. Another shot, another goal. Jason Spezza has his first of the season.
I think you're going to see Bernier now.
Yep. Jonathan Bernier stirring at the Maple Leaf bench, and two quick ones will send James Reimer out of the game.
And it's a great read by the Sens. You got a goaltender that just got bounced around, got knocked around his crease, so you put it around his feet. And so often, as Glenn will attest to, hard to control those rebounds. Look at the reaction of the crowd seeing 45 get his first action in regular season here at the ACC. But once again, the inability of the Leafs D to retrieve the puck off of those rebounds, and it's Jason Spezza hunting that puck, puts it in the back of the net.
Sloppy play by the Maple Leafs, and it has been all night long. Defense have just not been able to make passes tape to tape. Spezza shoots this not across the goal line. He shoots this to the back of the net. This thing goes in the net hard. And that's what good goal scorers are taught. Correct, Simmer? Just don't place it in the net, through the net.
And another good example, you see that shot from the point that came. It wasn't up into an area where the goaltender can grab it. So often you see guys put it into the chest or into the glove. That one down low on the left pad, and that created the rebound. And all of a sudden, it's a 4-2 game.
15 seconds after the goal by Jared Cowan, Spezza makes it 4-2. And James Reimer has gone 4 goals on 21 shots. Jonathan Bernier makes his debut as a Maple Leaf in a regular season game.
And you wondered when the goaltending decisions would be made, and so many people saying, well, let one get in there until they fail. Well, here, halfway through game number 3 of the season, there's your first blink.
Big opportunity for Bernier to hold the fort here, see if his team can get some timely goals and catch up. McClement shoots the puck in. The Leafs want to get back to that kind of game, that forecheck and hit game. Colton Orr leads the way, and I think that's a shift by design from Randy Carlyle in a scrambly game to get his big boys back and get back to the game that he wants. Morgan Riley, Tyler Bozak can't get by Corey Conacher, but he took the puck back, and they have a pretty good battle. Riley to Franson, he shoots, that's blocked in front of the net. Loose puck, where is it? I think it's caught up in the equipment of Joe Corvo. A case of the disappearing puck. And it is in the equipment of Joe Corvo.
Right off the face-off, after the goal, or Neal. There's no way Neal is going to fight there. scores 4-2. Why would he send momentum into Toronto's favor? Toronto's known for their physical play. They're also known for their ability to hit. They've averaged 30 hits in the first 2 games. Put that in perspective. Buffalo, Ottawa last night, there was 35 in total. That just hasn't been here for the Maple Leafs. With Devane in the lineup, with Orr in the lineup, passing in the lineup for Ottawa, I would have thought it would be a Donnybrook right off the bat. It's been a quiet affair.
It has been, and the skilled players have taken over. And in the Leafs' case, if they don't lean on Ottawa, Ottawa will probably take over the game.
Yeah, you give them time and space. And it's really been this line, as Glenn said. Tourist line set the table so far in this game for Ottawa.
They've been really good all night. Morgan Rielly's starting to play a lot. He's got Kyle Turris right on him here. Bolin, Raymond, and Lupul. So the best line on each team up against each other right now. Raymond to Cody Franson. Head up. We see a pass, so we got to center and dump the puck here. Dave Bolin first on it. Information Raymond. Joffrey Lupul off the bench, headed to the front of the goal. Raymond gets some open ice. His pass back to Dion Phaneuf. Screen shot. Deflected off the screen and just wide. Turris under pressure from Bolin. Got some help from Corvo. 4-on-2 to center. Clark MacArthur goes wide. Spezza just off the bench up the middle. MacArthur for Jason Spezza. Hard rink-wide pass was tipped by Phaneuf. Weird Kosh to Milan McCulloch. Spezza trying to get to the front of the net. Poke check there by Carl Gunnarsson. And out comes Phaneuf. 2-on-1 with Tyler Bozak. Dion Phaneuf stopped by Anderson. Rebound just eluded Bozak. Back the other way. A stretch pass for Bobby Ryan. Leaned on by Jake Gardner. Fights his way free through the puck in front. McCulloch got to it, but he's too deep for a good shot. Phil Kessel as things slow a bit again. Now he starts to pick up the speed as he moves to center and plays the puck to Van Riemsdyk. Kessel goes to the front of the net. Bozak's in the slot now. Phil Kessel with a bouncing puck. Turns away from Ryan. Checked by Wierkosh. Van Riemsdyk to the blue line. Gardner. And a good stick by Wierkosh in front of Kessel steers the puck over the glass.
Well, anxious moment as the D gets caught for the Ottawa Senators. Nice job of Phaneuf jumping up into the play. But watch the effort of number 2. Cowan gets back, gets on his horse, actually gets a piece of that puck as the rebound was there for a split second, but Spezza comes back and gets to it before a Leaf body can.
It's incredible effort, you're right, Simmer. And then the play goes back the other way. And then it's a display of skill by Bobby Ryan as the puck's nowhere near his stick, so he uses his skate to make sure that it's not an icing, and nearly gets a chance 200 feet away. Effort and skill 150 feet away. Great to see.
Senators get the draw, and they get out to center. Colin Greening with Zach Smith and Chris Neal. Nazem Kadri now playing with Troy Bodie and Jamie Devan. So Randy Carlyle has got the blender out. Cody Franson off the boards. Good pinch by Methot. Holds the puck in. Smith can't control it. And Bodie takes off with the puck to center. 1-on-3, so he just dumps it in. Anderson to Erik Karlsson. Gave the puck away around the boards. Kadri spinning to try and get away from Zach Smith. Can't do it. And Mark Methot will try and get out for Ottawa. Colin Greening into the middle. Zach Smith. A shoot in. First man back, Morgan Rielly. He's got his head up as he skates to center. Delivers a pass to Mason Raymond. He got some open ice. Back to Rielly into the glove of Craig Anderson. And he'll stop play. Jared Cowan and Jason Spezza 15 seconds apart. A 2-goal lead for Ottawa on Hockey Night in Canada. Jason Spezza happy to get that first of the season. Didn't get much action in training camp. And Jared Cowan with a big goal off the best defensive pair.
Now, he doesn't often score goals, but he got a really good chance right before this, Cowan, and then he finished it off the next shift with a goal. Okay, that's a gift. You expect it from your captain. Spezza's a guy who was 5th best scorer 2 years ago, injury plagued year last year. Getting all kinds of contribution from players you don't expect and players you do.
Now Randy Carlyle has really juggled his lines. It looks like he wants to try and get something out of Joffrey Lupul, but wasn't on that line with Kadri and Abbott, so he's Put Joffrey on the hottest line with Dave Bolin and Mason Raymond. Here's Raymond carrying the puck. Lupul takes the shot. Big rebound. Morgan Rielly to the front of the net. That's taken away by Wierkosh. And out comes Clark MacArthur to Kyle Turris. Conacher to the net. No rebound as Jonathan Bernier makes a nice save on the first shot he's faced since entering the game.
Yeah, tough spot for Bernier to come in and try to feel the puck, get his energy. He had a commercial break to get a little bit more stretching in, and this is one for Turris that didn't see many options, didn't think he could force anything through, and just tried to beat him short side, but Bernier, solid positional save.
Bernier's really going to have to do some fast study. Doesn't know many of the guys that play out in the East, so he's going to have to learn the tendencies of all the guys he's going to face this season.
Matchup continues between Bozak's line and Jason Spezza. Tyler Bozak just won the draw. Carlson's had kind of a quiet night, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Erik Karlsson playing with Mark Mathot.
Just over 8 minutes in the first. He was just at about 5 minutes here in the second. And I just think the way that Cowan and Wierkoch has been playing on that other pairing, they've been playing with the Turris line, and they've been a little bit more effective.
And that group of five has been on the ice a lot. Another change, another turnover. Spezza for Greening, kicked aside by Bernier. Here comes Zach Smith. Off the bench, Chris Neal. Smith puts the puck at the net. There's a rebound into the corner. And a good battle here between Greening and Phaneuf.
Leafs got to get their legs moving. Everyone's standing still. A lot of passes being turned over.
There's Kessel up the middle. Can't take off. He's moving in on Chris Phillips. Whoa, he just got out of the way of a big hit from Chris Neal. Colin Greening left the puck. Neal accidentally left it. Couldn't get the shot. Smith held the puck in. Van Riemsdyk up against Corvo, who got there first. Kadri had the puck in his feet, can't find it, and Bernier helps him out, smothering the puck.
One clear advantage you have in net when you have Bernier playing is his ability to handle the puck. He's exceptional at it. Watch this. Not to the forehand. No. I'm going to make the smart play. We're out of the zone. He is much better than Reimer with the puck handling. And Kessel, doesn't matter if it's 4-2, you can get a chance to put that guy, the game breaker, out of a game or a season. Chris Neal knows he's going to try to do it. Hear him coming.
Nazem Kadri out here for a face-off in his own zone against Pajot, and he won it back. Got some help from Morgan Rielly. As Kadri plays now with Jay McClement and Colton Orr. And the puck is deflected up over the glass with 3:10 to go in this second period.
Well, one thing that Randy Carlyle won't like is the amount of turnovers. And these are examples where nobody's moving to get open. Gunnarsson's got his head up and just throws it right to nobody. I mean, it's not like you're looking through one of your own guys. That was a tape-to-tape pass, and that's been indicative of some of the turnovers here, especially in this second period. Now, Randy's done a lot of that, hasn't he, Glenn? He's been writing on that pad this whole period, changing his lines around and making some notes.
Wants to keep Bolin playing against Turris here. Mason Raymond, Joffrey Lupul to the front of the net. Loose puck. Anderson's got it. And the line juggling just about paid dividends, but Craig Anderson was there to stop what looked like a Joffrey Lupul tip.
And for Lupul, that's what you have to do. Go to those tough areas of the ice. Nice job of just throwing the puck to the net. And look at the position. Lupul gets inside on Cowan, gets 2 whacks at it, but Anderson able to keep that left pad anchored. Nice job of getting that second chance, and then Anderson closes his glove on it.
Doesn't lose sight of the puck at all. Tracks it. Traffic. It's a great athletic save.
Bozak, Kessel, Van Riemsdyk come on here. Zach Smith to take the draw for Ottawa, and he does a nice job and wins it. But the puck was given away, and a bouncing puck to the front of the net. Bozak couldn't get a hold of it. Pajot didn't get that hard enough around the boards. Here's Kessel after the puck. Going to get away from Condra, can't do it. Out to center, Pajot can't get away from Tyler Bozak. Paul Ranger to Jake Gardner. Thought about going back, didn't he? Kessel just about turned the puck over. He's standing still at center now. He gets into the attacking zone and dumps the puck into the corner for Van Riemsdyk. Mathot took him out of the play. One of the very few shifts in the game, the Bozak line hasn't been out against Spezza. Pajot with a drop pass. Condra was checked along the boards by Ranger. And Methot sends the Leafs back once again. Both teams start changes.
Randy's working that Bolden line again. That's just after their shift. They're right back up.
Now they're out against Spezza's line. Raymond centering pass. Lupul interfered with, trying to get to the net. And there'll be a penalty on the play. And it'll be against the Ottawa Senators. Jared Cowan's going to go off, or is it Jason Spezza's going to get the penalty?
Well, it's Lupul again who creates this. And we saw earlier him driving to the net, getting inside on Cowan and almost scoring. Another simple play. Watch the right side of your screen. Gets inside position. And when you're standing still and your stick is parallel to your body, you're going to get that call every time. Spezza got it in there and got the call.
So that line didn't score, but they drew a penalty, and now the Maple Leafs have a wonderful opportunity to get right back within a goal here before the end of the period. Kadri, Raymond, Lupul out to start this power play with Phaneuf and Franson. One constant is Randy Carlyle's just playing the heck out of Mason Raymond.
How about Paul McLean playing Pajot so much? I mean, key places, killing penalties first shift every time.
There he is going to the net again, and he's checked by Nazem Kadri before he could get the shot away, and a nifty pass by Eric Condra. Now here's Joffrey Lupul on his own in over the blue line with some speed. Too many Senators to beat, and the Leafs will have to regroup again. And onto the ice comes Phil Kessel, Bozak and Van Riemsdyk. Dion Phaneuf slowly out to center. Watched by Clark MacArthur. MacArthur trying to take the puck away. Methot gets a hold of it and gets it out over the blue line. MacArthur goes after Phaneuf. Nothing happening on this power play, and we're halfway through it. Into the last minute of the second period. A hard pass, too hot to handle for Phil Kessel. And he gets lucky, gets the puck back to Bozak in front of the net. He tried to pass. Anderson got down there and made the save, and Kessel's down and he's hurt. Phil Kessel very slowly getting up as Kyle Turris goes over the blue line. Condra's offside. And Kessel now talking to the referee as he heads for the bench.
Well, some open ice finally came on a turnover down low. They could see the effort of number 4 Phillips comes back and maybe saves a goal as Bozak was trying to go across ice. Kessel with his head up. There's the pass across to Van Riemsdyk, and Phillips get in there.
And there's the high stick from Condra. Undetected.
There was some discussion between the linesmen and the refs down there, Glenn, but obviously they didn't see it or feel that they could make the call.
Yeah, they didn't get the United Nations all together to talk about it as a group of 4, just a group of 2. They don't get the advantage of seeing the replay like we do.
So 40 seconds left in this power play. Jake Gardiner leads the Leafs to center. His shooting ricocheted up a couple of bodies, and now they have control. Mason Raymond, Nazem Kadri. Lupul's parked at the side of the net. Now Raymond takes over there. Lupul's in the slot. Gets the shot. He scores! Guess who's in on the goal again? Mason Raymond to Joffrey Lupul, and it's a 1-goal game.
Now, last 3 shifts, Lupul's been all around the puck, and this is a goal scorer's goal. A tough play to make that he wanted to one-time this puck. The pass down low from Raymond, but instead, a little give and go with Kadri. Little jump back, and watch the effort of his stick to his skate and back to his stick and in the back of the net. And maybe, Glenn, a tough read for a goaltender with that little delay and the kickoff. Watch this left skate, boom, and it's in the back of the net.
First one for Lupul at 19:43 of the period. Big last-minute goal. A power play goal for Toronto that makes this a 4-3 game. And in comes Jay McClement with Colton Orr. And the second period comes to an end with the building having come to life, because after giving up 2 goals in 15 seconds, the Leafs are within a goal. Lupul from Raymond and Kadri at 19:43. And all the big boys have gathered and refused to go.
Zach Smith and Dion Phaneuf getting into it before they get off the ice.
There's a couple of policemen in the territory as well. That'll be it. The sides will separate. So Ottawa with a 1-goal lead after 2 periods on Hockey Night in Canada on CBC from Toronto.
Welcome back to Molson Canadian NHL Faceoff. 4-3 Senators leading after 40 minutes. Welcome back into the Air Canada Centre. And remember the 2014 Winter Olympics right here on CBC. And of course, the opening ceremonies will be coming your way on February 7th. And one of Canada's great hopefuls to come back with gold is this man, Mark McMorris from Regina, 19 years of age. Great to have you here in Toronto.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's glad to be back in a ring.
If you haven't seen this guy do his thing on the slopes, it's called snowboarding slope style. Check out your style, Mark.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. You know, we get to fly around in the air, land on soft white stuff, and keep things lighthearted and fun.
Well, you love the snow, but you love the ice as well. I understand you have some friends on these teams.
Yeah, it's nice to see Bozy playing for holding it down for Regina, and yeah, for sure. It's nice to be back in a rink watching some good Canadian hockey.
And how does a guy from Regina end up doing snowboarding of all things?
Supportive parents, just love for the sport, love to stand sideways.
Best of luck going into Sochi then. So you got some intense training the next couple of months, right?
Exactly, staying on my game, trying to get in shape and having fun.
Well, it's going to be fun. Again, February 7th right here on CBC. Mark McMorris, best of luck to you as you try and bring home gold to Canada.
Thank you so much.
All right, third period action coming your way now. Leafs trailing by 1. Joffrey Lupul, the power play goal, has the Leafs within 1. Senators, though, with the lead. Jim, Craig, Glenn, what do you have?
That was a big goal in 1943. What an interesting night for Kyle Turris and Mason Raymond. They're basically having the same night. Each one has a goal and 2 assists, 3 points, 4 shots on goal. They played within 2 seconds of each other. One at 11:26, one at 11:28. And they are the catalyst for their teams tonight. It's Turris at center ice and Mason Raymond playing with David Boland for the most part that have really provided the offense for their teams.
All right, now to start the third period, a little 4-on-4 hockey is coincidental roughing penalties at the end of the period as we saw Phaneuf and Smith go at it.
I guess they couldn't really overlook a
Yeah, they had
punch
to
in
give
the
them
face.
a couple punches each.
So 4-on-4, and here's Milan McCulloch. He's got Jason Spezza with him. Carlson back at the blue line. It's been a fairly ordinary night for Erik Karlsson. In fact, he's been beaten wide a couple of times, which seems unusual for him. Cody Franson. He's out with Carl Gunnarsson here. Start things off on defense with Dion Phaneuf in the penalty box.
Yeah, he's got a lot of people on the bus with him when it comes to ordinary nights tonight.
Yeah.
This has been a strange one.
Really a scrambly game. Here's Phil Kessel. He hasn't been able to keep the puck on his stick. It's been bouncing all over the place, and there was another opportunity that got away from him. Gardner back, McCulloch's right on it. Look at Jake Gardner go. He's 1-on-3, and he moves in and takes a shot. Rierkoch just stayed in front of him. Gardner stays with the puck. Lupul heads for the front of the net. The pass comes back to Nazem Kadri, and he couldn't handle it. Now he's got to play defense. Back up the other way, and it's Jonathan Bernier with a nice save there after Kadri had the puck bounce on him at the blue line, and Clark MacArthur, an old teammate, took off.
Well, the real challenge for Kadri was to not take a penalty, not get down in the feed area, but he did enough to force MacArthur to really only have one hand on his stick. Good read by Bernier, and he just calmly goes down, takes away the bottom of the ice.
Bernier is all about economies of scale, isn't he? Just makes it look easy, doesn't overreact, lets the play come to him. He's an impressive start here with the Maple Leafs. Philly game, he was exceptional.
No second chances. Gunnarsson starts out. Dave Boland got away from MacArthur at center. He's got Mason Raymond with him, and he took a shot that deflected out of play.
Okay, the night started and has continued for some players. The look in their eye just isn't quite the same. It's not game night. Kind of like this guy's eyes, so to speak. Got his playoff beard already. This guy's got the eyes of someone who's got some intensity. This is in warm-up. It's all business. And here he takes over. And that goal gives the Leafs a chance. Crowd recognizes it. 4-3. Leafs haven't played great, but they've got 18-32 to get one.
Just about got it there, but Anderson closed the door. There's another shot by Morgan Rielly wide of the net. Cody Franson And he shoot again, decided he better not go D to D because Riley was so far away. Now Morgan Riley on the other side, picked off. Here comes Clark MacArthur again with Kyle Turris. MacArthur shoots, great save by Bernier.
Well, you're a young defenseman, you make a mistake, so you hope for the goaltender can bail you out. A long pass, just too much ice to cover, and a nice read at the other end by MacArthur. Heads up play. Riley doesn't want to overplay, doesn't want to give an opportunity for that little cross-seam pass to Turris. Allows the shooter for his goaltender, and his goaltender, as Glenn said, economies of scale, great positional save.
Pajot won the faceoff. Bobby Ryan has the puck. Gardner trying to stay with him. Pajot at the side of the net, couldn't get a good shot away. Here's Carl Gunnarsson. Up the middle, Mason Raymond takes over. Phaneuf and Zach Smith have returned to the ice. 5-on-5 again as Gardner leads through the neutral zone. And because he lost control of the puck, he put a teammate offside.
What you see isn't what you get. And so Bernier gives the glove. Lots of room on the glove. Left side, he's pretty much got himself planted on the right side of the net, and then he just takes it away because he knows Turris is a right-hand shot. That is a very tough pass. Left-hand shot. It's an empty net, 6x4.
Tough read when you've got a rookie defenseman, though, is it not? Like, you don't know what the reaction of Riley's going to be as a goaltender, I'm sure.
And all of it happening in 1.6 seconds.
Yeah. Glenn, when you've got experience back there and you know how guys play, it must be an easier read for the goalie.
Yeah, it is for sure. And hey, you know, Reimer, I'll give him full marks. He's a team guy here. You know, that last save, you look to your left and he's clapping and cheering for Bernier. Both these guys are going to have a healthy, competitive relationship. It's going to make both better. And on any given night, you're not going to get subpar goaltending.
Spezza's line against Bozak's again. Mark Methot Smeagol away from that check from Dion Phaneuf. Phaneuf has no stick. Shot was blocked. Here's Jason Spezza. Backhand to forehand. Lost the puck in McCulloch's feet. He got the shot. Bernier to save. And a loose puck is gobbled up by Phil Kessel. And he'll slowly get out towards center. Now he chips the puck ahead for Bozak. He stood up there by Methot. Kessel got in behind, in front. Bozak scores. James Van Riemsdyk from Phil Kessel and Tyler Bozak 4-4.
This is all about understanding danger. Kessel starts the play in his own zone, little chip pass, but Methot doesn't get body, doesn't get puck, and Phil Kessel comes across. It's exactly the play Glenn was talking about. Carlson doesn't get down, doesn't take away the pass, and an easy tap in for Van Riemsdyk.
Now we got a game.
Sure do, at 4-4, starting over in the third period. 2:52 of the third period. Second goal of the season for James Van Riemsdyk. And it looks like pretty short benches for both of these teams right now. There's some guys that are trusted offensively that are playing a lot. Patrick Wierkoch stumbled at the blue line, and he recovered against Dave Bolin. There's Morgan Riley. He takes off offensively. Lost the puck, but he got it over to Joffrey Lupul, who's now with Bolin and Raymond. Raymond was in front. Bolin lost control of the puck in behind. Cody Franson with a shot off the stick and off the glass. Jared Cowan up the middle. Cody Franson awaits the arrival of the puck and then shoots it right back in. Change is underway. Conacher is shoot in. Paul Ranger is back with Jake Gardner. Nazem Kadri gave the puck away off the boards, trying to get it to Bodie. Now they'll have to play defense. Zach Smith with Eric Condra and Colin Greening. Or Pajot make that as the Leafs get to center. Kadri, Troy Bodie, Gardner heads for the front of the net, and the rebound skewed to the boards by Craig Anderson. Jean-Gabriel Pajot. His pass is off a stick. Condra checked by Ranger. Jay McClement gets the puck and he backhands it back in Chris Phillips is back. Crisp pace to the game now. It's been scrambly at times, and every once in a while it's picked up, and here's an icing call against Ottawa.
This is the coaching play that you'd like to show Phil Kessel more of. Come back deep in your own zone. Make the play defensively. Doesn't throw it away needlessly. Keeps the play alive. But most importantly, look, he jumps by Spezza, jumps by Methot, and makes the play on the goal. Offense starting with good defensive responsibility, and that ties the game.
Bozak won the draw. Kessel's shot. And that went off a body and up into the netting, stopping play.
Well, sometimes the reason a goal gets scored, it's 200 feet from your net, from the other team's net. Here's the play behind the net with Ryan and Gunnarsson. Gunnarsson does a real good job just to hold on a little bit. Okay, there, Bobby Ryan. Now, good luck getting back in the play. Now, everyone will look at the Methot pinch, but Bobby Ryan doesn't get back in the play because of what happened 200 feet away.
And he had a pretty good view of the goal.
And you know, you think about it, the shift before, what happened 200 feet away from Ottawa's net? An enormous save by Bernier.
There's an Ottawa face-off win, and Erik Karlsson has the puck. Methot in trouble again. Penalties coming up, and it'll be Marc Methot. Here's Kessel, his pass. Didn't get through to Van Riemsdyk, but Marc Methot. And a turnover, and then took a penalty, and now it's a Toronto power play. Let's find out what's going on in Montreal. Here's Andy. Canada Center Toronto power play. Marc Methot is the latest defenseman to have a couple of minutes he'd like to forget.
Yeah, this pairing has struggled at times defensively. They're just an overzealous, almost slew foot trip. And Karlsson and Methot got caught on that last goal. Now they create an opportunity on the power play.
Toronto's already got 2 power play goals against the stingiest penalty killing unit in the league last season. Nazem Kadri, Joffrey Lupul, Mason Raymond get it started. Nice move by Lupul. Heads for the net. Couldn't make the latest one, and Kadri then shot the puck just wide. That was going to be pretty from Joffrey Lupul.
That went right through the 5-hole of Anderson, but just barely missed the opposite side.
Gardner to center. Lets Kadri take over. Taken away by Jared Cowan. And he finds an opening and sends the puck down the ice. Mark MacArthur on the penalty kill with Kyle Turris.
Good discipline change there by that power play. You don't get anything done in the first 50 seconds. Get off and get some fresh troops.
Here comes Van Riemsdyk. Bozak to the net. The pass comes back to France, and he shoots. Anderson fights through the traffic. And James Van Riemsdyk was in front again, but he made the save.
Now, really important, especially in the third period. You keep fresh, keep your energy. You got your one chance here. Little dipsy doodle to the outside. Tried to pull it through Phillips. And Anderson was caught there, but got lucky. Went through the 5-hole and out the other side.
You know what helps with the change, too, is when Carlisle's yelling at you.
Get off.
You want to listen to him when you get paid millions of dollars. You have to listen for 2.5 hours.
You got that right.
Phil Kessel to Cody Franson. He bobbled the puck, but recovered. Or Spezza might have taken off, and now an offside call against Toronto with 49 seconds left in the penalty to Marc Methot.
Well, Glenn, I know it's early in the season, just the second game for Ottawa, third for the Leafs, but what do you get a sense down just the different atmospheres on these benches here with the game that it's been very loosey-goose?
Well, Toronto Maple Leafs, you look at their 3 games of the season, they got Montreal to play their way and fight, which I can't think is going to be successful for Montreal. Weren't good against Philadelphia, and tonight they've just been too loose, haven't executed, but they stick around.
Still have a chance to win it. You're right about that.
They are a team last year when it comes to shooting percentage. We talked about Ottawa being number 30 in the NHL. The Leafs are number 1. They make the most of their chances.
Power play continues here. Phaneuf holds the line into Phil Kessel. His pass was intercepted by Jared Cowan. Mark MacArthur to center, sends Turris, and he just couldn't quite take the pass. Just a little burst of speed to take off, and it didn't quite stay on his stick.
Yeah, he's frustrated as he was in all alone. What a great fake.
Here's Nazem Kadri. Drives wide, tried to cut to the net, couldn't do it with the puck. Penalty's almost over. Van Riemsdyk to the blue line. Rangers side of the net. Kessel just missed it. The thought is back on. Teams are 5-on-5 again, and the Leafs are 2 for 5 on the power play. There's another giveaway, and in comes Milan Michalek. Jason Spezza, Ryan to the net. The trailer. Weirkosh moves in and shoots. Bernier to save. Rebound and a quick whistle for Jonathan Bernier as the Senators look like they thought the puck was still loose and pounded away on it. Jason Spezza set up Patrick Weirkosh. Cut to the front of the net. Couldn't beat Jonathan Bernier on Hockey Night in Canada. Time now for our Hockey Night close-up, brought to you by Subway Restaurants. How did this game get to 4-4?
Strange night. It's over, right? 4-2. No, it's over for Reimer, but Bernier steps in, and when the game is 4-2, he makes a great save here. We believe 4-3. Another great save when it was 4-3. That could have been lights out there. Instead, no. Bernier saves the day. And James Van Riemsdyk makes it 4-4, and we have a great game. Not from a coach's standpoint, because there's been too many turnovers, but the fans have enjoyed it.
Bernier is 8 for 8 since he entered the game. Spezza's line on the ice against Bozak again. And a scramble draw, and Spezza kicked the puck back, but the Leafs will get it. They're out 3-on-2. Van Riemsdyk to Kessel. Hits the trailer. Bozak shoots. Stopped by Anderson. Rebound was there for Van Riemsdyk. And a good defensive play by Erik Karlsson to move the puck away before Van Riemsdyk could find it.
Good awareness there. Graves talked about all the talking on the ice. You could hear the yelling from the bench, letting him know it was a 3-on-2. And a good chance for Bozak off of it.
Bernier out to play the puck. Got it away from Bobby Ryan. Dion Phaneuf gets some help here from Bozak. Up the middle to Van Riemsdyk. In on Methot. Flipped the puck in the air. Gets it back, then got hit. And the Senators get the puck. Karlsson to center. Spezza just about stripped to the puck by Dave Bolin. Bolin, Lupul, and Raymond back on. Against the Kyle Turris line with MacArthur and Conacher. Here's Morgan Rielly. Cody Franson dumped the puck in. Rielly is the forechecker right in on Jared Cowan. Cowan made a nice play. He's been good tonight along with Weirkosh. Franson and Rielly had a shaky start but have settled in. Raymond deflected the puck in. Cowan has a look around. There was no icing on the play. Kyle Turris. There's a giveaway. Joffrey Lupul. And now Dave Bolin takes over.
Jim, clearly a conscious effort by Randy Carlyle to let Rielly play. I mean, the early mistakes, the early minuses, and he's allowed the kid to get comfortable and stay in the game.
There's a few other guys that aren't in the game anymore. No, Spencer Abbott hasn't played in a while. Jamie Devan. Mark MacArthur with a shoot in at the end of his shift. Zach Smith in against Paul Ranger. Ranger takes the man. In barge Chris Neal as well. The Maple Leafs get the puck and out they come. Colton Orr couldn't get it out. Now Gardner. He's checked. Turned the puck over. Zach Smith. Great move. Shoots. Stopped by Bernier. There have been some big giveaways in the hockey game, and another one created a chance there.
Well, and you look at the chance that was created off a defensive zone draw. The three Ottawa Senators get caught late, little cross-seam pass, but a rolling puck just delays long enough, and Bozak can't get all of it. Anderson makes the play. Turnover by Gardner. Backhand one-hander, and that creates a chance for Smith. And Bernier once again very solid.
You don't mind if Ottawa goes out and earns these chances, but they're not earning. It's just gift after gift. But you can talk about Rielly getting a chance to play. I think it's because of Ranger and Gardner that he's getting that chance. What's plan B?
Senators got the draw. Karlsson takes the shot, deflected into the corner. Here's Dion Phaneuf. Nearing the midway mark of the third period. In a 4-4 tie. Methot steps up. Here's Phil Kessel. His pass got through to Van Riemsdyk. He shoots, and Anderson gave him absolutely nothing. This line has really come alive, hasn't it?
They have. They've been doing a lot in the neutral zone to create a little bit of space. Once again, the puck somehow finds its way through Karlsson, but look at, as a shooter, there's just nothing to shoot at there. No overreaction by Anderson outside of his blue paint. And here's the puck going through Karlsson as he's standing still on an island at the line.
The difference in the game right now seems to be that the Leafs have two lines going now, in Bozak's and the Bolin line. The Senators pretty much still only one that's likely to score. Cody Franson loses Zach Smith, makes the play to Mason Raymond. In on Joe Corvo, he dumps the puck in, and Anderson sets it up for Chris Phillips. Eric Conrad to center, advances the puck. Morgan Riley back again. Hard around to the boards. Phillips pinched, kept the puck in. And he gets hit by Cody Franson and went down hard, but he's back up battling. Joffrey Lupul up the boards and safely all the way down the ice. And it's an icing call, and the referee just about got hit by the puck because he didn't know where it was. More scoring in Montreal. Here's Andy. Usually the way that works is that the other team scores after that. Not tonight.
How about the youngsters in Montreal? Gallagher, another good start. Galchenyuk, Barzell, he's got another one tonight.
Best line on opening night for Montreal. Most competitive.
Here 4-4, and some young players having a great night as well. You know, it's a brave new season of Rick Mercer Report beginning soon. Watch the premiere. It's Tuesday at 8 on CBC TV. Bozak's line right back out here. This time up against Kyle Turris. Bozak won the draw. Kessel's shot was blocked. Van Riemsdyk for Kessel. Bozak watched by Turris. Wierkosh has Kessel pinned. Erik Karlsson had his stick lifted, the puck taken away. Van Riemsdyk got caught, swing and a miss by Tyler Bozak. And a beautiful setup by Van Riemsdyk that would have put the Leafs ahead. Here's Turris to center. Corey Conacher speeds to the net. The trailer stopped by Bernier. Clark MacArthur again, and he's had a boatload of chances and can't bury them. And again, that Turris line has a wonderful chance. Here they come again. Spezza shoots. Bernier stopped him point blank. Spezza again. Up against rookie Morgan Riley in his first NHL game. And now the kid takes off. Troy Bodie stopped at center. Spezza's got the puck again. And he's got Bobby Ryan heading to the net. Spezza shoots off a leg wide of the net. Frantic action now. Bodie can't get the puck out. Jared Cowan kept it in. Jason Spezza to Milan McCulloch. Bobby Ryan slips a check, moves out front. Bodie collapsed and got the puck before Spezza. And goaltender Jonathan Bernier is trapped in a cage.
Boy, that's a dangerous play, too. It came on the top of his head, and his mask came off.
And Bobby Ryan looks like he got hurt too as well. I think the net came down on his arm. But the goaltender looks like he's going to be okay. And he's been much better than okay in this game since he entered it. Kept his team in it, and it's a 4-4 tie on Hockey Night in Canada. 4-4 battle between Bernier and Anderson, and Tyler Bozak thinks he should have had a 5-4 goal.
Missed opportunities and great saves. A one-timer that Bozak can't get all of.
And after trash-talking Carlisle through most of the day, the last guy he wants to see score is Clark MacArthur. And Bernier has been just exceptional. Look at that athletic save. He's beat. Spezza's got him cold. Just got to get it upstairs, but he doesn't quit on the play.
He's 11 for 11 now.
Getting hit with everything, even the net.
An entertaining, chance-filled game that's tied 4-4. Bobby Ryan trying to center, and Bernier cut that one off before Jason Spezza could get to it. He's unceremoniously dumped behind the net.
That's one way to get a new set of fans on your side. Bernier's come in and been very sharp. When talked about his ability to move the puck, make some plays, but he's shown some great athleticism and great positional saves so far as well.
It's like the playoffs outside the Air Canada Centre tonight.
They're hungry to get the season started again. You can see it out there.
Sense why when Dave Nonis first took the job as general manager, one of the first calls he made was to LA to say, can I get him?
Senators Phillips takes a shot and Bernier makes another save. 12 for 12 as Ottawa won the faceoff. Hard hit at center by Zach Smith on Jay McClement, who gets right back up. He and Colton Orr moving across the blue line. Nazem Kadri is there with him. Joe Corvo in his second tour of duty at age 36 with Ottawa. Can't get the puck out. Chris Phillips moved it up the boards to help out his partner. And Chris Neal puts the puck to center. Jake Gardner to Paul Ranger. That pass to Colton Orr. He was headed onto the bench. Chris Phillips. Both teams completing changes. There's Corvo with the shoot in. On comes Corey Conacher with a wing and a prayer shot out of the corner. Weirkosh. Nope, he didn't keep that onside. He took a whack at it, but the puck had just come out over the blue line. We have more scoring in Montreal. Once again, Andy. Still 4-4 here with under 7 minutes to go in the third period. Dave Bolland, nice evasive move, keep himself from getting hit. Anderson out to play the puck. Bolland read that, got right over to the boards and got the puck into the slot. Quick shot, Anderson with a nice save on Joffrey Lupul. Back the other way. Here's a 3-on-2 chance with Bolland back checking the trailer. Weirkosh shot just wide. A pass for Turris tipped off a stick. Lupul fanned a rolling puck. He couldn't get it out. Weirkosh held it in for Conacher. To Kyle Turris. In behind the net. Cody Franson. No Leafs there, so Zach Smith rushed to the puck. Cycled it into the corner. Conacher's centering pass went off a stick to Kyle Turris. He's got Smith in front of the net. Conacher couldn't control the puck. And Franson gets it out to center. Lupul, end of a shift, dumps the puck in.
Boy, pretty good transition game by both these teams here. The Leafs get a chance at one end, and quickly Ottawa goes back to the other. You got to be ready defensively after missing a chance at the other end.
Pajot, Smith, and Condra in for Ottawa after the puck. Dion Phaneuf back for Toronto. Up the boards. Carlson pinched against Van Riemsdyk, and they got by him, and the pass was just out of the reach of Phil Kessel. Zach Smith. Up the middle of Pajot, quickly ahead to Condra, and back. Pajot trying to split the defense, can't get by Phaneuf. Gunnarsson was there as well. Eric Condra along the boards. Methot jumped into the front of the net. And he's trying to get back, but Condra has the puck. Methot stays in, kicks it up, takes the shot. Didn't get to the net. Jason Spezza just fresh out of the ice. Jean-Gabriel Pajot to Spezza. Return pass was blocked at the side of the goal. Senators' turn to put on some pressure, and Phil Kessel alleviates that, flipping the puck to center. Erik Karlsson up the middle. McCulloch tried to get the puck to Condra, and nothing doing. No icing. Back the other way is Erik Karlsson. Randy Carlyle goes right back to Bolland, Lupul, and Raymond. Here's Bobby Ryan up the middle. McCulloch is on his left. He's on his own, and he's shot wide of the net. Centering pass, and all the Leafs come back, and Mason Raymond gets the puck. Up the middle, off the skate of Lupul. And he relays out of the reach of Dave Bolland. And that'll be an icing call against Toronto. The Leafs won't be able to change.
There's another one that you see the icing, the rule change with the fact that the puck just missed the stick. There's no judgment call there. It's got to go all the way. There's a turnover by Anderson and a quick play at the net. Bolland with a nice little release back to Joffrey Lupul, and Anderson bails himself out.
Joffrey Lupul's really come to life in this game since he moved onto the line with Bolland and Raymond. Ottawa wins the draw. Weirkosh lobbed the puck into the corner. Cody Franson is there. He and Morgan Riley playing together again. Weirkosh back to the puck in his own zone. Toronto changed on the fly. Holds it on. Big hit. Got Weirkosh and knocked him down. A Out at center, here's Orr against Phillips this time, and the puck deflected out of play. Corey Conacher is going to come after Colton Orr, and Kyle Turris. They got all the wrong guys on the ice to deal with Colton Orr after the big hit on Wierkosh. And Matt Kassian, who's the heavyweight on the other team, hasn't played in quite a while in this game. Wierkosh with Colton Orr coming hard, and he got the big hit, and that's why the Senators were upset in the 4-4 tie. Great news show coming up on CBC. Donald Sutherland stars in the exciting new action crime series Crossing Lines. Watch the series premiere Tuesday at 9 on CBC TV. Still to come tonight from Vancouver, it's the Canucks home opener against the Edmonton Oilers. Right after this game that is now 4-4, 34-33 are the shots in favor of Toronto over Ottawa. Turned into a heck of a hockey game, and the Leafs with Jonathan Bernier in goal and an icing call here against Ottawa have clawed back into the game after falling behind 4-2 on 2 goals in 15 seconds in the second.
You think now with 16 teams in the Eastern Conference, the ability to win a game in regulation could become even more prevalent as these teams fight for playoff spots.
And I think they and Montreal, these two teams, Montreal, might all be in pretty much the same area towards the end of the season. But these season series points are huge. Clark MacArthur to Kyle Turris to the net. Bernier makes the save, and there's MacArthur again. And since about the midway mark of the game, he's been all around the net without being able to put one in.
Well, it seems like you've got the role players doing what they do best. And here Bernier just makes it look simple. No rebound. I'll take control of it. And here's another role player. He does what he does best. Sits for extended period of times, but comes out and lays a huge hit on Wierkosh, and because of that, he's given more responsibility. 3:48 left to go in a tie game, and you've got him on the ice.
He's played quite a bit tonight.
He's played hard.
McClement to face off against Smith, and he won the draw. Ranger to Jay McClement. Colton Orr and Dave Bolin on as the second center. Now he hustles off, and back for the puck is Colin Greeny. Got Chris Neal with him. Neal gets in ahead of Nazem Kadri. Back at the blue line, Carlson wanted the puck. Now he gets it from the Leafs and throws it at the net. Bernier steered it aside. Colton Orr. Greeny wanted to get a hit in him, and he bounced off as the puck came across the ice and out of play. Down to 3:19 to go in the third period.
Well, when you've got such a shortened bench, too, those are 2 big shifts by Orr. Just to be able to put some time in, you got to take a hit to make a play. He knew that the pressure was coming from Greening, but he gets the puck out, gets a whistle, and the Leafs are able to make a change.
And on comes Tyler Bozak up against Jason Spezza. Carlson to Mathot. The shoot hit. And it'll come around to Carlson's side. He pinches in, and the puck was chipped by him by James Van Riemsdyk. Mark Mathot back in, lost control of the puck. Carl Gunnarsson takes over. Checked at center by Spezza and Ryan. Oops. A crazy bounce that got away from Anderson, but he had a defenseman there. Now Carlson, he hasn't led the rush many times tonight. Bobby Ryan in over the blue line. Bozak is there. Turned back in the Leafs' favor, and Kessel couldn't get control to get away in time. Looked promising for a while. Wierkosh can't check Kessel.
It has been the quietest game I have seen Carlson play. Yeah. And as I'm saying that, watch. All it's going to take him is one shot.
There's MacArthur again with a shot that's up high and deflected out of play. And Clark MacArthur bounces against the boards in disbelief that he had another chance.
Well, I would agree, guys. And so often you just want to keep Carlson back in a defensive role here at the end of his shift. A loose puck for a split second, but a nice job of Joffrey Lupul coming back and taking away the space. He's up over 22 minutes, but it has been a quiet 22 minutes in this game for Carlson.
Bolin won the draw in his own zone. Lupul tracked down by Conacher. There's Morgan Rielly, though. He steps up. 1-on-2. Rielly gets away from Jared Cowan to the net. That deflected in behind the goal. Rielly stays in there. Backhands the puck in. Bolin for Joffrey Lupul to the front of the net. And there was Kyle Turris to take the puck away for Ottawa. With Clark MacArthur 2-on-2, and the pass back to Turris missed it. Lupul on the open wing. Mason Raymond spins, looks for some help, feeds the puck to the net. Lupul took a bat at it, couldn't get it by Craig Anderson. And back the other way, MacArthur gets to center and dumps the puck in.
A smart play by Raymond, not going blind through the middle, did a little turn back, but made sure the puck was going forward and get it to the net. Almost ended up in the back end of it.
Now it's time for both of these teams to make sure they get a point. Condra, centering pass. Too many Leafs there. Van Riemsdyk took a slash from Pajot. He's got some speed. Trying to get by Phillips. He does. To the front of the net. Erik Karlsson is there. Back the other way. Zach Smith's pass. Went off on a stick. And here comes Phil Kessel. Van Riemsdyk shoots off the shoulder of Anderson and into the corner. Erik Karlsson's back for the puck. In the last minute of the third period of a 4-4 tie. Here's Paul Ranger jumping up, open ice, shoots off the post. Back the other way. Leafs are caught on a change. Here's Conrad in front of the net, and Dion Phaneuf broke that up. Spezza couldn't get it. Now in behind the net, his centering pass. And a battle for the puck. Condra holds it into the front of the net. Paul Ranger moves the puck ahead. Here's Joffrey Lupul. Jay McClement. Lupul falls in behind him. Takes the puck. Spins and put it into the corner, but he gave it away. Back the other way, Conrad to Spezza. That's broken up by Carl Gunnarsson. Senators are changing. Here comes Dion Phaneuf. Goes wide and takes a shot that was easily stopped by Anderson in the last 10 seconds. Mark Methot. Maybe one last rush? No, he's cut off by James Van Riemsdyk. Bozak hovering around, wanted to center. Third period's over. Tied 4-4, but there were some wonderful chances at either end, especially for Toronto.
Well, a hard-earned point by both these teams. All kinds of chances. Mason Raymond, again, just not blind in the middle, turn back, but he makes sure that he gets the puck through to the net. And Lupul on the doorstep with a great rebound chance that Anderson's able to corral. Another chance down low through a crowd, bouncing puck, and he somehow gets a piece of it, but Anderson does as well. And
sorry, late in the game, how about the post by Paul Ranger? The Leafs were lucky because as a result of this, they were on a change. Phaneuf came on the ice just in time. Otherwise, it would have been a 2-on-0 for the Ottawa Senators. Seen that reaction before, haven't we?
Well, 4-4 to sudden death overtime. Leafs were down 4-2. Got it to 4-3. That's a huge goal by Joffrey Lupul at 19:43 of the second period that gave them some life before they went to the intermission. James Van Riemsdyk at 2:52 of the third period tied this up at 4-4. And the Battle of Ontario goes to overtime. Big nights for Mason Raymond. Kyle Turris, each with 3 points.
you can see quite the diagramming going on the board, and you know 4-on-4, the way these defense are so mobile, you got to know whose responsibility is what. You let a defenseman jump in as a forward, and that could create some real problems for you. Both coaches making sure everybody understands their role.
Brian Burke watching a lot of players that he brought into Toronto in the building tonight. The member of the Calgary Flames. Look who's on the ice to start overtime for Toronto. Morgan Rielly, 19-year-old in his first NHL game, out with Cody Franson. Lupul and Kadri. Kyle Turris takes a shot. Missed the net. There's Jared Cowan in for Turris. He's got Clark MacArthur with him, who's back on the blue line, backing up Jared Cowan. And Morgan Rielly starts the Leafs to center. Kadri. Cowan in pursuit, drops the puck off. Here's Rielly, looks around patiently to the net, gets his own rebound, and he's stopped by Craig Anderson. What an ending that would have been.
Yeah, Rielly nervously was looking to go cross ice, but didn't want any turnover, and That first little flip to the net almost came right back to him with a gift.
There's Kessel with a quick shot, and Anderson made the save. Kessel to Dion Phaneuf at the blue line. Got the puck away from Bobby Ryan. Kessel just onside. Gunnarsson's shot is stopped by Anderson. Carl Gunnarsson again jumps in, gets the puck, feeds it to Kessel, trying to walk out. And he's stripped of it, and Erik Karlsson has the puck. Sees a little opening, and away he goes. He'll make it 3-on-2 to center. Pajot, the pass was just ahead of him. And so Gunnarsson had a step on it. Bozak had the puck get away. Bobby Ryan leads for Karlsson. Slowly onto the other side. Mark Methot into the crowd, and that's off a shoulder and into the netting, out of play.
Well, a conscious effort to just allow this kid to play by Randy Carlyle. Almost ends this game. Watch, he tentatively doesn't want to throw it away, so just puts it at the net, but a little pitch back by Anderson right to him. Andy and Shirley Riley watching on, and boy, what a moment that would have been as they sigh his first game-winning goal in overtime.
Played a few games in the American League. This is his 27th pro game. Ottawa gets the draw. Bernier makes another save. He's 15 for 15 since he entered the game. Jay McClement to Dave Bolland. Makes a great move. Bolland shoots, and he just missed the net.
That was going to be pretty, too.
Oh, yeah.
His eyes lit up with that curl and drag actually working.
There has been a lot of that tonight, hasn't there? Dion Phaneuf trying to pull away from Jason Spezza. Over to cut him off. McCulloch to the open wing. Raymond flying down the right side. As Bolland in front of the net, it's Paul Ranger who just keeps the puck safely in the attacking zone. Chris Phillips and Joe Corvo. Puck stolen away by Mason Raymond to Ranger. He shoots, this time just wide of the net. On the other side, Jake Gardner in for Dave Bolland to Mason Raymond. And get a shot from there. Bolland goes to the front of the net. Raymond to Ranger, who jumped in, turns back. Mason Raymond again. Ranger on the puck, skipped away from him. They ought to have played Sweet Georgia Brown through that sequence.
They were trying.
Corey Conacher fresh off the bench. Wide on Ranger. Got by him. He's got Zach Smith with him in front of the net. Wierkosh back at the blue line. Takes the pass from Karlsson. Had his shot blocked. Smith had been knocked down in a battle with Ranger. Ranger steps in front. Gave the puck back to Corey Conacher. Centering pass. Gardner got there first to the boards. Karlsson was hovering around. Gardner kicks the puck to center. Van Riemsdyk, one man back. It's Wierkosh. Anderson cleared the puck away. Zach Smith back the other way. Plays broken up by Morgan Riley, who stood up at center. A giveaway. Kadri steals the puck. Taken down. No arm goes up. And you can hear the reaction to that in the building. Here's Erik Karlsson. Kyle Turris back to Karlsson. Centering pass is blocked by Kessel. Deflected towards the goal. Branson had Turris step in front of him to the blue line. Wierkosh with his shot. Bernier with the save. And he stops play with 1:14 left in sudden death overtime.
I don't often believe that all 20,000 people are right, except now. They're right. That's a penalty. Watch the skill here. McClement through the legs, pick it up with speed, little crisscross, toe drag, and that's just 3 feet wide. Otherwise, it's a good chance to put an end to the game. All the newcomers the Maple Leafs signed, all the newcomers that the Maple Leafs brought on board, they're all having a tremendous start. Bernier, Bolland, the list goes on and on.
Mason Raymond picked that tonight as well. Senators have the puck. Karlsson faked the slap shot. On the other side to Jared Cowan. Into Bobby Ryan. He's with Pajot. And we're in the last minute of sudden death overtime. And Jean-Gabriel Pajot plays the puck up the boards. Left it for Karlsson. Just onside. On the other side, Cowan. Into the middle. He fanned to the pass. Dion Phaneuf. Up the middle. Here goes Dave Bolland. Taken down. This time there'll be a penalty call. He's not going to call a penalty shot. He's calling a hook with 42 seconds left. Montreal Canadiens have defeated Philadelphia 4-1. We'd like to welcome our viewers across the country now, with Vancouver and Edmonton still to come. A wild one here in Toronto. It's 4-4. Last minute of sudden death overtime. You be the judge. Should this be a penalty shot for Dave Bolland?
I would say he had a jump on him. He had an inside edge. But understandably, tough call to make. 41.5 seconds. Brian Murray looking on. He didn't like the call at all. Timeout here for the Toronto Maple Leafs to gather themselves. But how about Bolland? He's been all around the net. Had the great chance on the curl and drag, and thought if nothing else he might get a penalty shot on that one.
The hard part here is the stick goes horizontal into his hands, but then it's what happens to his feet. I think the referee doesn't like.
Yeah, he trips up right there.
Yeah.
Keep your legs going and you might have got that call.
Right, so he calls the hook because of where the stick was. Maybe in hindsight, in revision, not a bad call. Never sell that to anybody in here, though.
Well, the crowd has made a couple calls here. 3, in fact. The penalty shot, the one before, and then this one here. So, you know, they are not liking what they've seen over the last couple shifts of overtime. But they've got 41.5 seconds to like what they see from a pretty good lead power play tonight.
2 for 5 on the power play. 4 goals already in 3 games with a man advantage. A good face-off man in Bozak to take the draw against Turris. 2 defensemen with the forward on for Kyle Turris. It's Chris Phillips and Mark Methot.
Both are so-so in this game. Turris just 42%. Bozak sitting at 48.
But just one big win now, and there's a difference in the game.
And this is a strong side for Bozak. He can go to his backhand.
Kessel's with him, Dion Phaneuf and James Van Riemsdyk as well. 3 forwards and a defender for Toronto. Phaneuf along the boards, trying to hold the puck in. Van Riemsdyk into the middle. Bozak couldn't get a good shot away. Phillips blocked it easily. Kessel from behind the net. Van Riemsdyk stays at the side of it. Here's Dion Phaneuf. Lots of options here. Passes off. Kessel getting closer to the net. To Dion Phaneuf in too deep. Van Riemsdyk's parked in front of the goal. 12 seconds to go. Phaneuf walks in. Van Riemsdyk backhand to forehand, stopped by Anderson. He likes that move, and he scored on it before. But Van Riemsdyk was stopped by Anderson this time.
Well, Glenn, the fans were calling for something else there too, and that's a one-timer. 4-on-3, an opportunity up top early on that wasn't taken by both Phaneuf and Kessel. And at the end, with time ticking away, probably not the strongest choice of play down low.
Well, you've got 2 one-timers. You've got a right-hand shot in Bozak. You got a right-hand shot in Kessel. And you've got the puck on the right-hand boards. Sets up perfect for one of the 2 players to pound it to the back of the net with Van Riemsdyk in front of the net.
This time it's Ottawa's 32nd timeout. That'll give Toronto a chance to talk about this again as well. Still to come on Hockey Night in Canada. Vancouver Canucks home opener up against the Edmonton Oilers, and all their great, don't call them young anymore, talent.
This is a play that Van Riemsdyk has scored a great goal from down here, taking it hard to the net, but this is the old between the legs and not a very high percentage shot. You could see the reaction. Anderson wasn't fooled, stayed down and battled for that rebound.
4 forwards out for Toronto with 7 seconds to go. Turris and Bozak again. Turris won the draw. Phillips up against the boards. Joffrey Lupul is there. Pucks to the front of the net. Cleared away by Methot. That's it. 4-4 and headed for a shootout. And so the Leafs failed on a power play, although they had some chances, and end up 2 for 6 on the night. And the Battle of Ontario, at least this first game of this season, will be decided in a shootout. Hockey Night in Canada is back to the ACC in just a moment. Welcome back to Hockey Night in Canada from downtown Toronto in the Air Canada Centre, where the Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators are all tied 4-4, heading to a shootout. In British Columbia, you will not miss the start of the Vancouver-Edmonton hockey game. Despite how long this shootout may or may not go, but we saw one a couple of weeks ago that went 30 shooters before somebody put the puck in the net, and Jay McClement had to end it. Ottawa 4-4 in shootouts, and their goaltender Craig Anderson is above 500 at 17-14. But Toronto's had a woeful time in these shootouts. 0 for 5, didn't win one last year. And Jonathan Bernier, who's played as a backup for the most part, is 1-4 in shootouts, which is a bit of a surprising statistic for him.
One thing about being a goalie in a shootout, it doesn't mean you're bad necessarily. If your team can't score in that situation, and both these goaltenders could have this thing go a long way into the night. Both good enough.
One thing that'll be interesting to watch, neither of them overplay. And as a shooter coming in, you're trying to get the goaltender to buy into your fake, get a movement, and you can get a read. These two are very solid at not allowing that to happen.
Just so you could look ahead and think about who's next. Mason Raymond, Tyler Bozak, and Joffrey Lupul will be the first 3 shooters for Toronto. Milan Michalek, Jason Spezza, and Kyle Turris. And the first shooter for Toronto will be Mason Raymond. Shooter number 1, Raymond against Craig Anderson. We've seen that from Mason Raymond before. And he's given Toronto a 1-0 shootout lead.
We've seen it in Vancouver numerous times, kept the puck in motion, didn't stop it. Forward motion there, puck going around, and Anderson didn't like it. Crowd does.
Tell you the league wants to take that out.
Yeah.
They do. But it's still in for now.
You can see Paul McLean still arguing.
He's arguing that
The validation of it.
that Mason Raymond stopped.
Yeah.
Didn't have forward motion.
He's not winning that, and Milan Michalek will shoot next. Raymond with 3 points in regulation, a goal in the shootout, and here comes Michalek. Oh, did it stay up? Off the bar and underneath Jonathan Bernier.
What a good power move by Michalek. Throws the goaltender, got him down to his knees. Watch Bernier's bought it there, coming across and off the bar and off his leg, but not back in the net.
Nothing has beaten Bernier since he came into the game. Here comes Tyler Bozak. Toronto in the shootout.
Glenn, another case where the shooter got the goaltender to move first.
Bigger pads, is that a save that's made? All it takes is a 1/4 of an inch, and that off-speed shot is through.
And it's Bernier's game to win right now here.
Jason Spezza must score up against Bernier. Maple Leafs hadn't won a shootout since March 23rd, 2012. Some new players look good, and Toronto came from behind and beat Ottawa 5-4 in a wildly entertaining shootout. And now here's Ron MacLean.